Welcome to Trees and Lines. We're here live at Trees and Utilities. We're excited to introduce Katie Manende, the head of Vegetation Management for Central Maine Power. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. We kind of wanted to dive right in with you. You have a very interesting background. I think you've only been in this role for just shy of 2 years?
Yeah, about a year and a half now.
Yeah, but you come from more the analytics side of things, right?
I actually come from operations. So I spent the previous 8 years before moving into the manager's role as the local distribution arborist in one of our service centers.
Okay.
So it was more boots on the ground, working with the tree crews, doing the utility line clearance, pre-planning circuits for, we're on cycle in the state of Maine, so working through that program, putting everyone where they need to be, doing storm response.
Is that a state-regulated cycle, or?
Yes.
Okay, and how many years?
We are finishing our third 5-year cycle, so we've been on cycle for 15 years.
Okay. How long have you been at CMP?
I have been at CMP for 9 years.
9 years. And where were you before that?
I was at a company called Sappy. It's a pulp and paper industry.
Oh, wow.
I was a operations forester, so I did the forestry thing before moving over to the utility side of the house. So my background is in forestry and wildlife ecology. So they lended really well coming to the utility side. It was, I think, not something I ever anticipated I would do when I was in college going to forestry school. But surprisingly, now that I'm in the utility business, there's so many people that I went to college with that are in utilities. It's incredible. And they work either for utilities like myself, or they're working for a lot of, the larger companies like an Asplund or a Lewis or running operations in the field.
And where did you study forestry?
University of Maine.
University of Maine?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay. In the role that you're in now, maybe take us through some of the specific challenges that you're dealing with as a leader of that group. And you're like, do we have enough time?
Yeah. It's interesting. I would say, my first 6 months was a pretty big adjustment, trying to shift going from an operations mindset to more of a management mindset. So there's a lot, I think, personal struggles and growth along the way, trying to figure out how to balance both and kind of let go of what I used to do for like a day-to-day thing, kind of really being down in the weeds and doing the work and transitioning to not designing the program, but looking at the long-range vision of the program and where we want it to go. I am very, very fortunate that the group that I have are all rock stars, and they do not need any kind of micromanagement from me. They know the role, they know the expectations, they get up every day and get the job done. So they make my life incredibly easy. And I thank them as much as I can for it. But it does allow me to kind of focus on those challenges and figure out the things that we need to take care of. So in my first year as manager, we went through a rate case, and we had an opportunity there to kind of present a new strategy, just kind of knowing the direction that things are going with forest health and climate change, seeing the increased storm frequencies and heavier winds, more intense rains or drought conditions, and knowing kind of the impacts that has on tree health. And also with your tree pests and diseases, we're seeing a lot of issues with that in the state of Maine right now. And we were able to put together a strategy that really, it takes what we've done in the last 15 years on cycle, and it's really kind of pushing it ahead, saying, hey, we've done this for 15 years. It's worked great. It's worked really well, kind of getting that baseline establishment of line clearance. But right now we want to pivot, and we want to put more focus on those hazard tree removals. We want to get ground to sky clearance and really invest where we know it's going to make a big difference for our customers and improve reliability. And it was great, but it was definitely a challenge. I think one, personally taking that leap of faith to say, hey, this is what I think we should be doing. We should move in a different direction. Yes, we do this well, but where the leading cause of our outages are not coming from the areas that we're actively maintaining within our established right-of-way boundary.
People are realizing we maintain that box around it, but that's not where the problem is.
Yeah, we track every outage, but we really do a deep dive into every outage over 100 customers. We have a daily reliability call where you have all the players. So it's veg management, line department, president, vice president of the company. We review everything to say, okay, here's where our outage was. Did the system work properly as designed? What was the cause? Is there anything that we can go out and do do and mitigate this from happening again is really like a very detailed deep dive and a huge culture shift.
Do you do an inspection of the failure?
We do, yeah. Yep, we do every one over 100. There's an actual inspection. It was a huge culture shift for us, and really that was something that our president, Joe Purington, brought to the table. And we used to do a weekly reliability call, but he's like, no, we need to do a daily one and establish this as the new standard. And it's been amazing to see the growth and progress in the last couple of years that he's been leading us. We did a more formal tracking of any customer outage over 500 for as long as I've been with the company, so definitely much longer than the 9 years I've been here. But we've teased out that 96% of our tree-related outages are coming from outside of our right-of-way, so outside of our cycle maintenance zone. Later in the cycle shift, you might have some areas where we're only permitted to get a limited trim and really not the full standard of what we would like, and you might have some kind of encroachment and a grow-in. But that's 4% of the outages that our customers are seeing. That 96 is really coming from outside of that maintenance zone, and that's what drove that shift to saying we need to make a change. So we're still going to keep a cycle program, but we're going from a 5-year to a 6-year, because really at 6 years, we still have the line clearance that we need from the side from the grow-ins or grow-in potential. By doing that, we can shift the money that we would be spending on the cycle trim to those enhanced hazard tree removals and getting the ground to sky over the 3-phase. And really, we think it's going to be a game changer for us.
Your grow-ins probably don't represent much of a risk. Even if they do grow incidental contact, it's not going to be an electrical outage. So
very, very infrequently, yeah.
Knowing that from the data, does that change your strategy and how you apply for budgets and rate cases and how you're communicating with your local regulatory agencies?
From a budget perspective, no, because really what we wanted to demonstrate to our commission is, we asked for an increase in our budget, but really it's just for reflection of operating cost and labor. We didn't ask for an increase to change the program. We really used the offset of the budget from shifting to...
You're just moving dollars.
We're moving dollars and putting them where they matter.
Got it.
A lot of what we demonstrated in that rate case, aside with the 96% of all of our tree-related outages coming from outside of our right-of-way, was that, we're seeing those drought conditions, and then we're seeing, these heavy wet, especially in Maine this year, it's been persistently raining, and we have a lot of uprooting, root rot. We're seeing the colors changing, like the leaves are turning yellow and red now. I mean, really weeks ago, they were turning red. It's just, but even aside from that, you have that kind of tree stress, but we also have emerald ash borer, which is really having some significant impacts in the southern part of our state and moving north. Spongy moth, we're seeing a lot of that. We had some significant late frost that with the spongy moth, just like you drive down the roads and there's just hundreds of oak trees that have no leaves on them, and we're really optimistic that they're going to come back and respond next year, but no guarantee. And that's really where we need to focus our time and effort, is those trees that are under all these various stresses and that we know will come down on the conductors at some point, and our traditional cycle program would never capture those trees.
Katie, how big is your team?
I have a team of 11. But
in-house?
In-house, yeah.
Okay.
Mostly distribution arborists. We have one transmission arborist, but we're looking to grow that transmission program and really enhance that. It's just a large part of what we do as an organization. So we're really excited to go down that road and build the team and do that.
That's great.
So you're doing hazard tree patrols every year? Or?
All the time. We are doing hazard patrols. Yeah, we get a list every year of our worst performing circuits from the year prior as far as tree-related outages go. We'll do patrols of those, and we do a pretty deep dive in removing those hazard trees. But we're always driving around, scanning, looking. If we see something that we know we need to tackle, we're taking care of it.
What is CMP's relationship with technology as it relates to veg? Like, are you guys technologically friendly? Are you making investment in, work management tools and drone technologies and remote sensing? Like, where are you guys in the life cycle of, modernizing sort of your approach?
So definitely on our transmission side, we're using a lot more of that. LiDAR is a big part of what we do. And we've, both our transmission veg department and our transmission line department have been looking at some different technology with helicopter flights and doing some different kind of assessing. And, we kind of we exchange information back and forth from both of the work that we're doing. And definitely the same on the distribution side. We did have a work management system that we used for a very long time, and we've outgrown that, and we've moving into different things to use our work, but heavily into GIS. But yeah, we're trying out some new things. We're heading in a really solid direction and excited about some of the stuff we're doing.
Oh, very exciting.
I know you're passionate about pollinators.
I am.
So what are you
passionate about pollinators? I like
pollinators, yeah. She likes bees.
I do.
And butterflies.
I do.
Yeah. So tell us about what are you doing, or is the company have a program?
With my wildlife background, it's just always been kind of like a thing, right? I always have, and as a kid growing up, I was always outside, always kind of fascinated with everything. And yeah, pollinators are just fun. Like, what's not to like about them? So it started as a home project that I had some milkweed, and I started digging it up and moving everywhere because I just want milkweed everywhere. And I have my own little pollinator plants and keep expanding, and probably drives my husband crazy. But he's like, I just want to mow that area over there. I'm like, no, we can't. The bees, pollinators. But I digress. So yeah, it's, we have a very strong established transmission program and really try to promote any opportunity that we can to encourage our local flora, our low shrubs, and really kind of promote that habitat to provide that pollinator opportunity. We were doing it before it was like a buzzword, right? So like we were putting that investment in to promote those areas and protect that habitat. But now more and more, I think we're finding unique opportunities where we can try to do some implementation. So we have a little trial going right now in under one of our transmission lines that we kind of, nothing special, like we just kind of went in, we're like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we tried mowing this patch of buckthorn and got rid of it and do some treatment, have a control plot, do a treatment plot, herbicide only, and then do another one where they were treated with herbicide. One quadrant got grasses, and then the other one got a pollinator mix, and just see how everything comes back and what can we learn from this little mini trial to do some different strategies going forward on our transmission lines where we want to get rid of these invasives that are really taking over the area and do more of a pollinator-friendly establishment that we can maintain and encourage and
I
make
have
it
a little
work.
acreage, and I'm constantly losing the battle to buckthorn. So I appreciate where you're
It is incredible. I mean, this for as far as you can see, it was just buckthorn. So yeah, we mowed it all down and trying to figure out what that looks like. CMP also has a great community relations department, and one of the community relations team, she used to work at Maine IF&W, and her and I, we partner a lot trying to figure out where we can take these unique opportunities and do either like a pollinator habitat, set up milkweed gardens, get our local Girl Scout troops involved in establishing some of these things either at our service centers or at a place where we can safely get people in and do some work. But we also use our right-of-ways a lot for bluebird houses. She did a big project with that, trying to set those up on our transmission lines, and really any kind of pollinator wildlife opportunity we can take to promote and encourage, we're going to do it all day long.
Let's say I appointed you the president of all U.S. utilities.
Oh,
right.
That's a lot of power.
Yeah, it's a lot of power.
It's a lot of power.
And you had to pick one key initiative that you were going to focus on that you would want to standardize across the industry. What would that area of focus be? And what would you hope that everyone would sort of piggyback you with?
Distribution or transmission, or both? Because they probably be two different strategies.
The question is more centered around where do you feel like the rest of the utility landscape has to kind of come together to like standardize something. What area would you take on? Because you feel like some people are doing it well, some people are not, and you would want to standardize that because you think it's the most important. You get to pick.
That's tricky. Feels like a trap question.
You get to boss your peers around. Go ahead. Let them have
Well, I think it's what's interesting about that question, but also hard, is you look at every different area in the United States, and they all have their own different challenges. So educating the public about what we do.
Very good. Yeah.
I think, we've really tried very hard in the last few years at CMP to really open up that dialogue with the public and say, it's really not as easy as flipping on a light switch, right? It's like there's a lot that goes into how we manage our infrastructure and why we take the different principles that we do, whether it's on the infrastructure side or the veg management side, storm response. And I think it's really easy for everyone to sit outside and judge, doesn't matter what utility or what business it is. And a lot of that's probably because we naturally are really good at talking to our peers about what we do, but not as great about explaining to everybody why we do what we do, why it's significant, why it's important. So I think maybe if I was president of all the utilities, and that would be my goal and wish when I wake up, is really finding a way to strategize how all the businesses communicate why they do what they do. It's okay that everyone does it a little bit differently, but why is what you're doing, why is that working for you and your company?
So that's good. One of the key principles of the Right-of-Way Steward Accreditation Program, there's 10 principles, and one of them is specific to engagement to the external stakeholders, educating and informing.
Yeah, I got into forestry because in my little universe, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get into forestry. I'm going to go work in the woods. I'm not going to have to talk to anybody. I'm just going to be in my own little bubble all the time, and it's going to be perfect, right? And then I got into the real world and realized, nope, a big part of what I do is talk to people every day and tell them what I do. Like, I need to explain to them why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm recommending, when I started, like, this is your harvest prescription, and this is, you're telling me what your goals and objectives are.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm recommending we take this strategy over this one. And I think it's in the utility industry, the forestry world, I think that's a hard skill for people to do, is communicate and really kind of put themselves out there. And it's such an important part of what we do.
Look, I think where the industry has exploded, based on all the unfortunate events that have been happening around the world, it's put a big light on this industry, and so the expectations of these professionals has increased.
Yeah.
And so I think there's some growing pains there, but I agree with you. I think that's actually a very thoughtful answer. That the communication part of it, I just don't think enough people know.
Yeah.
All the nuances and the importance and the impact of the arboriculture community, forest community. Yeah.
I think having platforms, like Trees and Lines, and then you take LinkedIn, which I know you guys found me on there with all of my posts. I mean, I think it's really good for people to take those opportunities and really showcase what they're doing and try to put it at a base level of, hey, this is what we're trying, this is what we're doing, and just kind of put those little blurps out there and showcase what everyone's kind of unique skill sets are. And
I've always thought at an event like this, we come and we're all technical people and we listen to technical talks. What we probably should do, set some time aside where they teach us things we're not comfortable with. The communication, how do we communicate up in the structure of the organization?
Yeah. I remember a couple years after I started working professionally, I was invited back to UMaine by one of my old professors, like, hey, come back, talk to, the junior, senior class, give them an idea of what it's like to get out in the professional world, and, tips of things you would suggest. And there's 3 of us who went back, and I think every single one of us said, get comfortable with speaking, get comfortable with communicating a message, and really trying to talk to people who do not understand what you do. It's huge. I think people really underestimate the power of communication and really how far it can go. And also with that, the power of when you don't do that communication. There's some pretty negative results that can happen when you either say nothing or,
Well, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Thank you again for inviting me. This
we'll
is great.
Have to come say hello in Maine. Actually, one of my favorite beers.
Yes, come up anytime. We're getting into
Maine
the
beer is like one of my favorite beers.
great season of fall weather.
Oh,
Anytime in the next 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fall weather, bugs have gone. Fall is a beautiful time of year in Maine.
Oh yeah, Maine's such a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And where are you in Maine?
I live in southern Maine, but I spent a good amount of years up in the central part.
Is that Kittery? Are you down in Kittery?
Yeah, not too far from Kittery, about 30, 45 minutes north of Kittery. A little bit west of Portland.
Yeah, west of Portland.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a beautiful
I really
state.
do appreciate your
thanks so much.
Hey, come do this. And I know what?
No, okay, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you again so much.
This was great. You were fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's it for this episode of Trees and Lines, brought to you by Iapetus Holdings. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. If you have any questions or comments on any of our episodes or ideas for topics or guests, we'd love to hear from you. Please contact us at treesandlines@iapetusllc.com. We'll chat with you soon.